Good morning. I'm Wenk, winemaker from Two Hands Wines. Lovely small winery down in sunny South Australia. The company started in the year 2000, a small amount of fruit of 17 tonnes, and we're up to about 600 tonnes at the moment. And we're stabilised out there. I focus on Shiraz from 6 different regions around Australia, 5 from South Australia, starting from Clare Valley north of Adelaide, across the valley, just slightly north of Adelaide, McLaren Vale to south of Adelaide, Langhorne Creek, again south of Adelaide, Pathway in the southeast of South Australia, and Heathcote about an hour and a half north of Melbourne. We have 3 examples of our wines here. The front one is from Heathcote in Victoria, Clare Valley and Langhorne Creek. Amongst Shiraz, we also make a small amount of Grenache, Cabernet Sauvignon, Riesling and White Frontenac, which we make a lovely, refreshing, slightly sparkling, slightly sweet, refreshing Moscato style wine. I've been with the company for 7 years now and watch it grow and been a part of it since then. And the two hands are Richard Mintz and Michael Twelvetree, who are definitely involved in the company as well. From year 2002 when I started, there was only about 2 employees, Michael and myself. We've grown to about 16 employees now.
And what inspired your passion for wine? How did you get into the industry?
I got into the industry about 16 years ago. I've always had a passion for it. My grandmother was Spanish, and that European culture of food and wine in the family has been quite a strong component at mealtime in my household, my parents' household. After working in hospitality, as a lot of people do during their study days, my interest grew and grew, and after attending Roseworthy College, Agricultural College in South Australia, and working in several places around Australia and Europe and North America, I landed the job at Two Hands Wines. It's been a great experience and a great journey, and it's still a great journey. Will be to years to come, I'm sure.
Who have some of your mentors been?
Probably over the last 15 or 16 years, Brian Crozer of Petaluma fame. Peter Lesky, I worked with closely at Nepenthe Wines for 5 vintages. Tim Epstein, another probably a generation above me, in South Australia, has been a great guide and mentor over the years. And I think just overall, anyone you meet in the wine industry has got something new or interesting story to tell you, and it makes you think about various things, and whether you like it or not, or you agree with them or not, it always makes you think about things. We at Two Hands have been described as Shiraz specialists, which we are. 85% of our fruit that comes through the winery is pretty well Shiraz. As I mentioned earlier, we take fruit from Shiraz from 6 different regions across Australia, which myself, Richard and Michael deem as the better or best growing regions for Shiraz in Australia. I'm sure that some people would like to argue that point, but this is what we feel. It's very subjective, obviously. And we've done this rather than integrate within a region having different levels, although we do that to a certain extent. It's really quite interesting to go into a winery and integrate horizontally across regions, so someone can come into our cellar door in the Barossa Valley and taste these wines from 6 different regions. So they can be in Heathcote, which is sort of 1,500 kilometres away, or they can be in Clare Valley, which is 100 kilometres away. And also about these wines, in the early days, Rich and Michael and I tasted a lot of wines from these certain regions and tried to get a handle on the styles that were coming out of those regions, and then started focusing on the ones we thought that represented those regions the best. Obviously all these regions have different climates, different soils, a lot of influences, which the French do use a word called terroir, which just for one word just encompasses all those things, and it's just fantastic that they have this word. And not that I want to throw it around cheaply, but it's just perfect to describe it. So on those wines from those regions, these are what I think represents the region the best. The classification system works is when the fruit comes in, it is crushed, fermented, pressed and kept separate for its entire life just before bottling. And the wines are designated to, the batches are designated to certain wines by classification. And in the November following that vintage, so in this November, I will be tasting the 2009 wines with Michael, and we taste every barrel individually. We do it Monday, Wednesday and Friday typically, do 200 barrels a day, so it's pretty full on. Start at 9 in the morning and finish at about 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And classify everything A+, A-, all the way down through to sort of C. The A+s go into our flagship range, which is the Eris, which is Shiraz, Aphrodite, which is Cabernet Sauvignon, Erope, which is Grenache. The next level, the A-s and A-s, go into the Garden series, which is the 6 individual wines from the 6 individual regions. And then the B+s and the Bs go into our Picture series, which are the entry-level wines. Typically, we do not do cross-regional blending. Everything is kept separate. Because we have no second wine, for example, for Heathcote or Clare Valley, 1 or 2 barrels do go into, say, Gnarly Dudes, which is our entry-level Barossa wine. The AWBC, which is Australian Wine and Branding Corporation, stipulates that a wine to be recognised for its regionality has to be 85% or more of wine from that region. So 1 or 2 barrels from these regions is not going to upset that percentage.